I don't usually post things like this, but I've been carrying this mix of anger, sadness, and weird satisfaction for days now, and I can't get it out of my head. I'm 29, and last weekend was the first time in years that I sat down for dinner with my parents. It turned into a night I'll probably never forget, not because it was wholesome or healing, but because it was the night I realized I didn't need their approval anymore. To understand the weight of that dinner, you need to know what growing up in my family was like. My dad's a retired corporate lawyer. My mom used to be a financial advisor, the kind of woman who wore pearls even to the grocery store. Image mattered more than anything. My sister went to Yale. My brother got into med school. And me? I dropped out of college at 20 to chase what they called a ridiculous pipe dream. I wanted to start a business. Back then, it was an online marketing thing. It failed, obviously. I was broke for a long time, delivering food and sleeping on couches, while my parents acted like I'd personally embarrassed them on a national stage. They stopped inviting me to family gatherings around the time my sister got married. I found out she was pregnant through Facebook. My parents told relatives that I was finding myself, which was their polite way of saying I was the family disappointment. I tried to reach out a few times, but every time I did, it turned into a lecture about how I'd wasted my potential. After a while, I stopped calling. I convinced myself I didn't care. But I did. Fast forward to now. I've spent the last 5 years building a small software company with a friend. The first few years were brutal. We coded late nights, maxed out credit cards, ate ramen and gas station sandwiches. Then one day, the product took off. We landed a few major clients, grew fast, and last year, a bigger company acquired us. I walked away with enough money to not worry about rent for the rest of my life. I don't flaunt it. I still live pretty modestly. But I finally feel stable, independent, free. A month ago, out of nowhere, my mom called me. She said she and Dad wanted to reconnect. They'd heard about my little company, as she put it, and wanted to take me out to dinner to celebrate. Part of me wanted to say no. Another part of me, the part that still craves their acceptance, said yes. I figured maybe this was my moment. Maybe they were finally proud of me. They chose a restaurant I'd never been to, one of those ultra-fancy downtown places with a wait list and valet parking. When I walked in, they were already seated, my mom in her usual pearls, my dad scrolling on his phone. My mom stood up and hugged me like she was greeting a distant cousin. My dad gave me that half smile that says, "I'm tolerating your existence." The first 20 minutes weren't bad. We talked about surface-level stuff, weather, traffic, the waiter's accent. Then my dad started asking questions about the business. At first, I thought he was genuinely curious. But the tone changed fast. He started nitpicking everything. "So, you just sold some app? That's it." He laughed when I tried to explain what our software did. "Sounds like a fad to me. What's your plan when that dries up?" I told him I wasn't worried. He leaned back and said, "You've always been a dreamer, son. You need to be realistic." My mom chimed in with her usual, "We just want what's best for you." Then she asked if I'd thought about finishing college. I reminded her that I'd sold a company. She smiled politely and said, "That's nice, dear, but you still don't have a degree. You could take night classes." Something inside me started burning. I'd spent years proving to myself that I could do it, that I wasn't the loser they made me feel like. And here they were, still talking to me like I was a kid who couldn't be trusted to tie his shoes. Then came the kicker. My sister and brother showed up. I hadn't known they were coming. My sister looked surprised to see me, like my parents hadn't mentioned it either. My brother clapped me on the back and said, "Hey, man, long time no see." He was wearing a Rolex that probably cost more than my car. Dinner dragged on. The conversation turned into a contest of who was more successful. My dad bragged about my brother's surgical residency. My mom gushed about my sister's kids. When I tried to talk about my work, my dad interrupted with, "Well, that's great, but you still live in that tiny apartment, right?" I felt humiliated. My mom laughed and said, "We're just teasing you, honey." But there was no kindness in it, just that same old tone of superiority. Then my dad said something that broke me for a second. "You know, we were really worried you'd end up a failure. Maybe you still will. It's hard to tell with these startup things. You've never been the reliable one. I just sat there, staring at my plate. I felt 20 again, small and stupid. All the years of progress, all the nights I'd worked myself to exhaustion, all the sacrifices, it felt like none of it mattered. They'd already decided who I was a long time ago, and nothing I did could change it. The waiter came with the check. My dad reached for it automatically, like he always did. Then something inside me snapped. I took it before he could touch it. He looked up, confused. "I got it," I said. He smirked. "You sure? It's not cheap." The total came to $3,212. Wine, appetizers, desserts, the whole show. I pulled out a black card they'd never seen before. One of those cards that doesn't have a limit, that you only get if your bank account's stupidly high. My mom's eyes widened. My dad's smirk faltered. I handed it to the waiter, without a word. He ran it, handed it back, and thanked me. My mom tried to recover, smiling that tight smile she does when she's embarrassed. "Well, that was generous of you." I just looked at her and said, "It's not generous. It's what failures do when they make it." The table went silent. My brother shifted uncomfortably. My sister stared at her drink. My dad looked like he wanted to say something, but he didn't. For once, he didn't have a lecture ready. After that, I stood up and said I had to go. My mom called after me, "Don't be dramatic." But I didn't turn around. I walked out of that restaurant with my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. When I got to my car, I sat there for a few minutes just breathing. Part of me felt sick. Another part felt lighter than I'd felt in years. I didn't pay that bill to show off. I paid it because I needed to end that chapter. I needed them to see that I wasn't that scared kid anymore. That I'd built something out of the mess they mocked me for. They haven't called me since. Not once. I guess that's fine. I've got people in my life now who treat me like I matter. My business partner, my friends, even a few clients who've become close. They know who I am, not who I was supposed to be. But I keep replaying that dinner in my head. I think about how long I spent chasing their approval, how much it cost me emotionally. I think about all the birthdays and holidays I spent waiting for a text that never came. That night, when I drove home, I took the long way. I stopped at a lookout point I used to go to when I was broke just to clear my head. The city lights looked the same as they always did, but I didn't. I wasn't the same person anymore. I realized that success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about freeing yourself from needing their validation in the first place. For years, I thought I'd feel whole the day my parents finally said, "We're proud of you." But sitting there, hearing them call me a failure again, I realized something. Maybe they'll never say it. Maybe they're not capable of it. And maybe that's okay. I drove home, poured a glass of whiskey, and looked at the card still sitting in my wallet. It wasn't about the money. It was about what it represented. Every sleepless night, every doubt, every small win that nobody saw, it was proof that I'd made it on my own terms. I used to think I'd invite them to my wedding someday, or introduce them to my future kids. Now, I'm not so sure. I don't hate them. I don't even want revenge. I just want peace. And for the first time in my life, I think I finally have it.